You won't see this BMW next to you at a stoplight. They don't sell it here. It's a 123D diesel, 4-cylinder, with a 6-speed. And, well, we have too many hang-ups about all that in this country. But if you drove one, I think you'd like it. Let's check the tech. Now, this car being a 123, you might think it's got a 2.3 liter, but it doesn't. Even smaller, a 2-liter inline-4 diesel. Kind of a little motor. Turning out 143 horsepower. Not too interesting, but the torque, here we go, Diesel Town, 223 foot-pounds. That'll move this car around just fine. It uses turbocharging to get some of that power, and common rail direct injection, which is a very precise and clean way to run any kind of injection system, certainly a diesel one with that common rail involved as well. And that's how most of them are done these days. Now in Europe, this guy gets somewhere in the vicinity of 63 miles per gallon, but that's a different test cycle than we have here in the US. Nonetheless, assume stellar miles per gallon. Performance isn't bad. 0 to 60 in about 9 seconds is what most people are finding with this car. That's not stunning, but the story that doesn't get told there is that in the intermediate ranges, going from 23 to 46 or from 11 to 37 miles per hour, all those real world little darts and squirts, that's where diesel torque is so great to have. They've done a couple other tricks to make this car particularly efficient. One is they've lightened up the engine to make the entire package lighter, making it all aluminum, which gives you something on the order of a 44-pound weight saving. And if you look down here and see the generator, that's being operated differently as well. It's being operated on a regenerative braking logic. So what happens is it's not engaged and spinning and adding parasitic drag to the engine unless you are either off the accelerator entirely or getting on the brakes. Kind of like the way hybrids are programmed, although this car doesn't have a giant battery pack anywhere, just a standard 12-volt service battery, but that's how they're charging it, only when the car doesn't need to put its power into moving itself. Okay, so let's see how this 123 drives in the real world, because a lot of folks still have issues with diesels. We happen to have a 6-speed manual on this car, and by the way, an M package, which is kind of ambitious. And again, something most folks won't associate with a diesel is a performance package, but that's why they're putting this car out there, to change people's minds about how these cars handle. Now, of course, being a 1 Series, this car is a small package to start with. The question is, can you do a 2-ish liter diesel and power a much larger car with acceptable performance? You gotta believe so, because the torque is the key on these cars. Diesels have some vibration to them that gas engines typically don't. And I'm seeing it here in the vibration of the gear shift. That's something you'll never see. Disconcerting to us in the United States because we're used to extremely smooth power plants that are gasoline based. Now let's check out the auto stop technology. Here I am at a stop in traffic. It's in neutral, again, manual transmission. I let out the clutch, and that's what signals the engine to stop, which it just did. Now, as soon as I put the clutch back in, it restarts. Little different than a hybrid or some other very efficient cars that wait for an accelerator pedal signal, but those are usually with automatic transmissions. So on the good side, the driving experience is rewarding because it's easy to find power. And as I mentioned, noise and vibration, while they're present, are by no means annoying or jarring. On the downside, though, it's got a typical BMW manual transmission and clutch, which are far from my favorite. The clutch isn't linear, it kind of has a hump to it, and the gears, you got to pop in and out of every gear. If you live in a hilly city like San Francisco, you're going to love a diesel, because as you start on a steep incline, which happens from time to time, it's very hard to kill this engine, because again, there's plenty of torque there to drag you up the hill. Now, when you're in a gear and you run the RPMs up and go for the next gear, you'll find that the engine revolutions float for a while before they drop down to where you want to be to engage the next gear. Not my favorite experience for a driver's car. However, I'll bet that's part of some programming for maximum efficiency, so I'm not going to knock it too hard. BMW has no current plans that we know of to bring their 2-liter turbo diesel to the US in any of their cars. And to be certain, it is a somewhat harsher experience than the inline 6 diesel that we love in their 335D. But small displacement is really the root of engine efficiency. So in the future, somewhere, this car makes sense, and it makes a lot of friends wherever it goes.